A week ago, we did it a couple of times in the show. We talked about, hey, look at this game coming up this weekend. The Texans, and I told you Texans were going to beat the Colts. Hey, Texans beat the Colts. Texans win, Bears lose. Bears are going to be picking number 1 in the draft. Okay? And when that happens, the desire and the pressure to select a quarterback is immense. So, yeah, Justin Fields on the block in the offseason. The Bears could wind up trading him, and I told the bold prediction the Bears would trade him because it's just too difficult a mountain to try to navigate to say, yes, here's a coaching staff that didn't pick Justin Fields, even though he made great strides. It's not about Justin Fields, because I love Justin Fields. And if they made him available, plenty of teams would go after him. Like if Lamar Jackson and Justin Fields are the 2 quarterbacks this offseason that suddenly become available, yeah, Justin Fields is right behind Lamar Jackson, right? Because you don't have to pay Justin Fields what you pay Lamar Jackson because he wants a big contract. He wants all the money guaranteed. I'd go get Justin Fields because he's terrific. If he played Week 17, he would have set the record for most yards rushing in the season by a quarterback. It would have happened. He has made big strides. But think about the pressure of picking number 1 overall with all these quarterback prospects out there, right? Yes, Bryce Young is a little small, but no one sees the field like he does, right? He's got the best vision of any quarterback coming out of the draft in probably 10 years, right? Bryce Young could be a star. C.J. Stroud could be a star. You have lots of guys there up at the top, but Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud are those 2 big names. And you think they're not going to look at, well, we can reset the quarterback clock by drafting a guy here where, look, we're 2 years into Justin Fields already, and he's playing well. He might deserve a big extension. We can reset that clock. Are we really going to go by and not take a quarterback and run the risk of, hey, we had a chance to get a generational guy and we didn't get him? Are you really going to do that? As time gets closer to the draft, that pressure amps up and ramps up more and more and more. And plus you have a faction of the Bears that you feel like they've never really gone all in on Justin Fields. It's kind of like the Eagles with Jalen Hurts going into this year. Like, yeah, they like him, but they kind of had him at arm's length. Are they really going to develop him? They wouldn't let Justin Fields loose at all. They hardly let him through the football the first few games of the year. Then suddenly they decided, okay, fine, let's turn him loose. Oh, and look what happened. The Bears started scoring points. He started becoming a dynamic quarterback. They were never all in on him, and this is a regime that didn't draft him. So you have all of these things going on now, and then Mike Tannenbaum goes on TV today and says, if I'm the Bears, I trade Justin Fields and take a quarterback, that number 1 overall pick. I'm like, we did this thing like a week ago. Before this even happened, we did this a week ago. Man, we should make a lot of money. We can make a lot of money for our takes.
Yeah, we've kind of thrown this one up for a while, and it's really been interesting to watch. In Chicago, you basically have the media fighting each other. This is Anchorman come to life in a lot of ways. Because, there is the insane defense of Fields to the point where he's infallible, and everything else has to be, they just haven't developed him right. They haven't gotten the tools, and et cetera, versus the other side that is, well, he's got so many issues that no matter what you do around him, that he's never going to be a complete quarterback, which I think is also asinine. Unfortunately, this is one where nuance gets into it, and hot take nonsense, is there just by suggesting it. But when you dig a little deeper, right? We talked about it in the opening weeks of the season, breaking down these games. Why? Because if it wasn't on national TV outside of Chicago, nobody watched this stuff. Don't kid yourselves. Nobody saw week 3 or 4 if it was on the 1 p.m. Fox game outside of the 2 teams, fan bases that were contesting it, and people that analyzed some film. Right? Otherwise, it's a lot of hot takes on stuff you didn't see. Well, you had a center that couldn't snap the ball and pretend to block anybody, which meant he was never throwing from a pocket at any point to start the season. Offensive line, they might have 1 or 2 pieces that you say, okay, these guys we can work with going forward. They got to figure out the run game. We talked about this a little bit last night. David Montgomery wants to come back. He's the same boat as Josh Jacobs. Man, I'd really like to play there. Well, what's the price? What has got to be? Khalil Herbert coming off an injury. Chase Claypool still fancies himself a top 5 receiver. How the hell are you going to win if that guy thinks he's a top 5 receiver in the NFL because he's going to try to command 10 targets a game thinking he's a wizard and he's a jag? Okay, so that's a problem you're going to have to deal with, and that was one of the trades they made. Very small investment, but it certainly is one where you raise the eyebrow. Nothing more than, what was it, a second-round pick when it's all said and done, but it's still a deal that you made to try to get help. Komet's solid, had a 4 or 5 week run where he was fantastic and then receded. And then Darnell Mooney is, a 2 or a 3 in your ideal team. Nice player, but he's not a true number 1. So what are you going to do? You've got a giant bag of cash to try to convince people to come in, and you've got a lot of building blocks to work on. You've got a new president that's going to get hired, and then you have the decision on Fields of, do you like what you've seen? Can you coach him out of some of the turnover mistakes? Because go back and roll tape on that, everybody that wants to just genuflect to this guy. He made some incredibly poor and terrible decisions that you can't excuse away no matter what the personnel is around. And that's fact. And I like him, and I think he's a guy that fits the city. He embraces the mantle and what it means to be a quarterback for a team and a fan base that's been so desperate to find one. But that doesn't mean that you ought to automatically crown him. If you can go find another deal, you go find a deal if it's going to make you better.
Now, if you think, oh, Jason, you're crazy, not going to trade Justin. Yeah, look, I love Justin Fields. I think he's terrific. And they finally did the right thing in letting him cook and say, let's see what this guy can do and figure out the offense around him. But the bottom line is there's a lot of things at work. Are we completely sold he's going to be a great quarterback? Will he make those improvements passing? Because he's got to throw the ball a little bit better. You can run for 120 yards a week, and that's awesome, but you can't go 6 for 17 for 78 yards, right? You need to be able to throw the ball a little bit better. You don't need to win passing titles, but you need to throw the ball a little bit better than that. But it's the combination of that and the number 1 overall pick. It really is immense. And earlier today, you think I'm lying to you. You know what? I'll tell you what. Here's Ryan Poles saying that, we love Justin Fields. He's our guy, but
you're saying Justin's your guy.
We're going to do the same as we've always done. We're going to evaluate the draft class. And I would say this, I'd have to be absolutely blown away to make that type of decision.
That's not Justin's our guy. That's hey, we're going to evaluate the draft class, and we'd have to be blown away. No, that's not, hey, Justin Fields is our quarterback, man, and we're looking at getting a great player here at number 1 or maybe trading down. This is not the, hey, yeah, we love Justin Fields. The door is wide open for the Bears to trade him. And do you think, what else is Ryan Poles going to say? Oh, you got to keep the leverage. He doesn't have to keep leverage. He picks number 1. It's not like he's picking 3rd or 4th. No, he has all the leverage. Right. He picks number 1 overall.
Right. Anybody that wants to call is still going to call. If nothing else, if you say he's our guy, you've now got people scrambling to try to call for both the pick and Justin Fields. Hey, what does it take? Like, it now becomes a 2-pronged approach as opposed to, no, he's our guy, and now you're just negotiating over the draft pick. No. There's much more at play here. And Poles is doing it right, and I think, at least to this point, I give the benefit of the doubt that this is a different era than the Hallis-McCaskey thing. I know we had Jason Lockenfor on last hour, and he talked to history, and that's been the battle cry for a lot of folks. It's change. It may be slow, but you did hire a different cat and brought him in, and he did some things that past GMs had no guts or ability to do. So you're already looking at evolution here, right? It takes time, moving glacially along here. Does it mean it's going to end up in the position we all think it should, one way or another? No. But to just say they've always failed, well, eventually, something's going to change.
Eventually you get it right? Eventually.
No, but it goes back to the analogy from last hour. As
look at the Jets. They still haven't got it right, Mike Harmon. The Jets are still waiting.
But you had it right all those years ago with the guy with the thing in the place and the fur coats. He predicted things and he got it right. Doesn't mean it happens, but once every 50 years or so. But the idea just being that you do have new people in charge, new ideas in the room. And let's face it, the franchise the matriarch has just turned 100. You've got a lot of things on the table, including a move out of the city and out to the suburbs, which is unthinkable 5 years ago. Nobody would have laughed at that being, because it's just like all of the stadiums that were here in Los Angeles. You could build a museum of all those mini stadiums and proposals for all those years. Guess what? Last night they played the national title game, Georgia did, in that stadium. Okay, same thing here. Change may be slow, but the fact that they're talking about saying, hey, blank you to the city and to the park districts and everybody else and moving out of town to get their own revenue and everything else, it means the business of the game has finally trickled into those offices, and with it, maybe some more football sense as well.
Just watch, with all of that coming, it's going to be impossible for the Bears to not trade Justin Fields. The only way out is if they trade the pick.
Well, you know what? You know my thought is
we don't want the
it.
drama. We trade the. There's no way they stay at number one and don't take a quarterback. That's their only way out. Is that okay? How do we get out of this if we really don't want? Like, we'll do our due diligence on Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud. Hey, guess what? Because Ryan Polska's always saying in a couple months, "Hey, I'm blown away by Bryce Young. Boy, I'm blown away by this kid." Right? But the only way out of it is if they trade the pick. Is to say, hey, we got to. They do a New York Giants. Oh, we had to do this. We had no choice but to take Saquon Barkley at number 2. He's a generational running back. The Bears could say, we were blown away with this trade offer by a team that really wants Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud, so we kind of have to do this. That's they don't stay at number 1 if they're not taking a quarterback. That's their only way out. If they're scared of making that decision, they want to make it look like, well, we didn't. In the end, we didn't have to make that because we traded the pick. We got a couple other picks. We're going to revamp our team. We need different things, different positions. That's their only way out.
What did I tell you? You have a lot of needs, and you've got a couple of teams behind you that are going to be desperate to try to go up and get that pick and leapfrog each other. So you pit, at a minimum, the Texans and the Colts against each other, same division, right? Still fighting, trying to figure things out. Maybe those guys don't like each other and the owners just have a slap fight. But the idea is that, all right, you can go trade it back to Houston, and then, hey, we now have the number 2 pick. Hi, Indianapolis. Would you like what's left of the quarterbacks? How about you give us a bevy of picks? And then all of a sudden, there you are, replete, and you build around Justin Fields. And if you want to trade picks back out into the marketplace and go get a couple of established veterans, because that's the other thing that has changed these last couple of years, where you can actually get into the marketplace and go get yourself some viable starters based on contract, playing time, and general quarrels within squads.
Just watch Justin Fields. Remember, today's takes the week before.